5 years ago, I realized that art was the only realistic career path for me. I want to tell you about what I've learned and how I've changed ever since I realized this. This drawing you see here is some fan art of a character called Byleth from the video game Fire Emblem Three Houses. The game released in 2019, and when it first came out, it was one of the most played, liked and talked about games on the internet. Because of its popularity, you could find fan art of it everywhere on the internet, especially Twitter, now X, and every artist I followed jumped on the bandwagon. I also jumped on the bandwagon. Why? Because I wanted my art to reach as big of an audience as possible. This was one of my many attempts to gain traction on social media. I had tried everything to stand out. Shipping fan art, alternative universe fan art, meme fan art, atmospheric cool fan art, wholesome fan art, pin-ups. I even participated in Fire Emblem designs for free. There was absolutely nothing I hadn't tried. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I've never even played Fire Emblem. I only watched a couple of gameplay videos, and I only made art of characters whose design I liked. So did I end up gaining any traction on social media? Yes, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to build a career at least. The worst part was that the art I spilled blood, sweat and tears to create was quickly forgotten. This is because social media relies on the rapid replacement of content by other content. And this meant that I had to keep pumping out new art over and over, with no financial gain whatsoever. I thought it was unfair, but looking back, I can now see just how bad my art was, and how I definitely wasn't anywhere near as good as I thought I was back then. I mean, my art wasn't horrible, but in a market filled to the brim with talented artists, it wasn't gonna get me far. At the end of the day, if I wanted to get art commissions, then I had to make sure my art was good enough to be worth it. When I look at the 2019 version of this art, I can see that I couldn't even do the most basic things right. The composition for starters. This composition doesn't convey anything about Byleth's character or personality. A character's pose should say a lot about who they are, but we are not hearing much of anything here. Second up is anatomy. Since my knowledge of anatomy was so limited, not only did I screw up the eyes and arms, but I couldn't do anything interesting with the hands either. Third is texture. I failed at visualizing the sheen on the gold accessories and the metallic surfaces on the armor. Wherever you look, there's a lack of texture. Similarly, the skin doesn't have that satisfying softness you see in good art. The absence of all these textures brings down the realisticity and the appeal of the art quite a bit. As soon as I realized my shortcomings as an artist, I came to see just how much I needed to improve. So I completely withdrew myself from the social media race and started my 5-year training arc. Here are 5 things I learned. Number 1. What kind of art style I want to go for? I finally understood not only what I want to draw, but also what I enjoy drawing. In my opinion, for an artist to truly take their art to the next level, they need to know what styles of art they really like. After all, every style has its own audience and its own special path when it comes to building an art career. For the longest time, I wasn't really sure about the style I wanted to go for. Nor did I have the confidence to develop my own, so I never showed any consistent progress. The most logical approach would be to focus on one style at first, adding your own quirks and diversifying it later on. Number 2. You can't rush good art. I don't want to lie to you and say that you can take all the time in the world, Rome wasn't built in a day, etc., because I think that being able to draw quickly is super important, especially with social media having such a dominating presence these days. The ability to pump out a fully rendered piece every single day can be insanely profitable for artists. Of course, sacrificing quality for speed isn't ideal, But being able to ride a fine line between fast and flawless? Now that's one of the most valuable skills an artist could have, in my opinion. A skill that I still have a long way to go in mastering, but I'm doing the best that I can to improve step by step every single day. Number 3. I don't want to draw what's popular, I want to draw what's in my heart. Generally speaking, fan art gains more traction than OCs. That's why I avoided drawing my own OCs and stuck to what was popular for so long. Well, do I still jump on whatever bandwagon I can 5 years later? Kind of. I wish I could say no, but I'm still forced to follow whatever is trending. This is going to be a depressing pill to swallow for beginner artists, but there are going to be times where you won't be able to draw what's in your heart. Times where you are going to have to follow the art trends if you want to pay the bills. That's the reality of building an art career. The bright side is, as you progress and improve, you gain more freedom and eventually reach the point where you are able to set your own boundaries. That's what separates art careers from most other 9-to-5 jobs, and reaching that point is one of my biggest goals right now. Number 4. Use references. This is an obvious one, but it's something that most artists, including myself, tend to avoid. In my case, I would delude myself into thinking I didn't need references because I already had an image of the concept in my mind, which is ridiculous. References are always necessary, no matter how good you think you know something. Even if the reference you're using doesn't really fit the style you're shooting for, having something to guide you is a must. Number 5. Enjoy the process. I've learned a lot of things these past 5 years. I'm always learning and trying to put the things I learn into practice. But I think the biggest lesson I've learned so far is about the process itself. I'm not a forgetful person by any means, but as time goes by, I tend to forget why I draw or why I'm on the art grind in the first place. It's in times like these that I take a look at my old, flawed drawings and remind myself just how much I improved, how much I love to draw, how much I've always loved art. Taking something that I loved so much and turning it into a career was one of the hardest decisions ever for me. There are still times where I second guess myself. But art is what I know best, it's what I do best. That's why I'm going to stay on the grind for as long as I can. It's not easy, and it's never going to be easy, but I can't give up because I love drawing. I hope my experiences and thoughts helped everyone who gave this video a chance. Thanks for watching. I wish you good luck on your art journey.